Minority Leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to provide everyone with an update about the status of negotiations on the third phase of coronavirus legislation. Early this morning, Leader McConnell presented to us a highly partisan bill written exclusively by Republicans, and he said he would call a vote to proceed to it today. So who is being partisan? He knows darn well for this bill to pass, it needs both Democratic and Republican support. And furthermore, when Speaker Pelosi and I said, let's have a four corners negotiation, it was Leader McConnell who resisted. So whatever we do here in the Senate, the House is doing its own bill. It made no sense then. It made no sense now. I said to the leader then, that would slow things down. So that's where we are. Most important is the legislation itself. The legislation has many problems. At the top of the list, it includes a large corporate bailout with no protections for workers and virtually no oversight. Also very troubling in the bill were significant shortfalls of money that our hospitals, states, cities, and medical workers desperately needed. This is a public health crisis. It is inexplicable to skimp on funding to address the pandemic. I told both Leader McConnell and Secretary Mnuchin that our caucus could not support such a partisan bill and urged Leader McConnell to delay the 3 p.m. vote so we might come to a bipartisan agreement. I'm glad he agreed, because we Democrats want to move forward with a bipartisan agreement. Unfortunately, the legislation has not improved enough in the past 3 hours to earn the necessary votes to proceed. Given more time, I believe we could reach a point where the legislation is close enough to what the nation needs for all senators to want to move forward. We are not yet at that point. America needs a Marshall Plan for our hospitals and our public health infrastructure. The bill should include much more money for hospitals and community health centers, nursing homes, and enough funding to address the coming shortages in masks, ICU beds, ventilators, testing, and personal protective equipment. The bill needs more money to offset the costs now being incurred by state and local governments who are propping up their health networks. We cannot reach a point where our states and localities are going bankrupt or firing public employees like teachers, first responders. And the corporate bailout provisions remain unacceptable. If we're going to provide assistance to certain industries, there must be far more oversight, transparency, accountability, and there certainly must be protections for workers. On unemployment insurance, we're glad the bill has moved in the direction we outlined, but at the moment, the expanded unemployment benefits we fought for last only 3 months. It's supposed to be longer. We need it longer. Now, let me be clear. The Majority Leader was well aware of how this vote would go before it happened, but he chose to go forward with it anyway, even though negotiations are continuing. So who's playing games? But our caucus is united in trying to deliver a bill that addresses this health and economic crisis quickly. And we're committed to working in a bipartisan way to get it done, both sides of the aisle voting for a bill. We are entitling our proposal, the Democratic bill that we introduced, workers first, and we intend to follow through on this principle as we negotiate. Now, the bipartisan negotiations on this package continue, even as we speak. Secretary Mnuchin was in my office just about a half hour ago. Changes to the legislation are being made, even as we speak. The bill can and must continue to improve. We're closer than we've been at any time over the past 48 hours to an agreement. But there are still too many problems in the proposed legislation. Can we overcome the remaining disagreements in the next 24 hours? Yes, we can and we should. The nation demands it. I yield the floor.